down here in New Zealand. I just sent you the horse paste that I'm using, mate, that I'm sourcing here from a private supplier, because most of the local veterinary clinics are only offering ivermectin or your alternative to ivermectin options made by companies like Bayer and that, who are subsidiaries of Monsanto and the like. So we all know we want to stay away from those options. So I sent you. That product is manufactured and made in Australia. We all know that Australia breeds some pretty good racehorses. For anyone in Australia that's listening, I can assure you that will be widely available across the country. They didn't make it in Australia to not sell it to any of their customers there with the elite horse owners that exist inside your boundaries. Anyway, getting back to myself, mate. So I've been using that since listening to your chat. I'd say what would be probably 3 weeks ago, first time off. I've been through about 6 or 7 tubes myself now, but I had to neck it back a little bit after speaking to you in regards to my daughter. And I guess this is my testimony for those out there who are skeptical. She has, I would say, mild to bad eczema, and we've been at our wits' end, my wife and I, with regards to trying to find a solution to stop the itch. I mean, it's not life-threatening, don't get me wrong, but it is hard to watch a kid who constantly scratches all day and is uncomfortable with something that they cannot and we cannot or have not been able to find to control. So when I started her on it, I did a bit of topical. I didn't really see much on that. And then I started putting it on her toast. She'd weigh about, I'd say probably about 22, 23 kilos, so 45 pounds roughly. I thought, well, look, you're a tough little bastard, and I know that. So I went with basically a 50 kilo dose on her toast. Now, despite the fact it's as bitter as hell, she chewed it down, and, I praised her for it every time. We did that for a week last week, and every night that I asked what her eczema looked like, my wife was sort of querying why I was asking so many questions, and I've yet to tell her, not because I want to hide it from her, but because I know there's a lot of skepticism around. She's 3.5 going on 4 next week. So for the skeptics out there, I too was skeptical, hence I tried it on myself first, but had no ill effects. That my child's now into her second full week. This week she's eating it straight out of the tube with a drink of water after it, because she's decided that's easier than trying to chew through a mouthful of it. I've seen a marked improvement in her eczema in the 2 weeks of doing it. So fingers crossed it continues to improve to a point where I can knock the dosing back to roughly just once or twice a week to just keep on top of things.
Excellent.
So, between myself and my daughter, I'm an advocate for everything you're doing based on the fact that I can tell you straight up it's definitely not doing any harm. I haven't seen her get tired or anything. In fact, she's been an absolute ball of energy through all of this. Although we did have one hiccup last night when my wife and I decided to utilise a different curry takeaway place for dinner, and without realising it, my wife bought butter chicken for her and our daughter, and they neglected to ask whether they'd put cashew nuts in it. And we found out when my daughter had consumed her entire dinner that it definitely had cashews in it, and basically swelled up her eyes to complete closure and her mouth to a point where her lips looked like she'd had an overdose of Botox. Thankfully, never got to her airways, but we managed to get that to reside a reasonable amount with a bit of antihistamine and another dose of that this morning before I send her off to daycare. So she's a little trooper, and I'm just trying to do my part to help her on the basis that throughout the multiple doctor's visits we've had in her life for the different bits and pieces that she's got around her ailments and allergies, I've been banging my head against the wall for a long time now, expecting a different result with no extra information being handed my way, and hence I've resorted to alternate options that the medical fraternity don't utilise, because, as my wife's boss said to me the other day, it's not in the toolkit that they are taught.
Well, I'm glad to hear that story. I'm sorry about that nut allergy, but I can honestly say hundreds of people that had allergies that no longer have allergies after doing, whether it's Dervet or Equimax or whatever the ivermectin brand is, their allergies have subsided. So hopefully with you continuing what you're doing, and I posted the picture of the tube that you sent me on my page. So, hopefully you got her young enough that she'll be able to get better and she won't have an allergy later on in life.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely my hope, mate. I mean, for any parents that are listening who have children with allergies, I mean, we went right through the spectrum to start with. When she first started eating solids, she was allergic to eggs, peanut, dairy, you name it, the whole lot. She's managed to weed those out on her own accord, and it would appear that peanuts and possibly walnuts are the only two remaining things that she's susceptible to. And the unfortunate or real circumstance that exists with allergies, to those that are unaware, is that the first reaction that you see to a pathogen might be minor, and unfortunately what tends to happen is that just aggravates the immunosystem response to that. And so whilst we've tried to wean her into cashews, we stopped on the pretense that we were seeing a worse reaction. And the last time she had them was probably 5 or 6 months ago, and it wasn't a large amount, but it might have been 3 or 4 cashews, I suppose, and her mouth flared up, but not that significantly. The antihistamine rectified it within sort of about half an hour. But last night, the reaction that she had, granted she had had a larger quantity of the cashews, was really significant in that, like I say, it literally swelled her eyes closed and her lips were that tight, like they couldn't move, sort of thing. And obviously the scary thing for us is that the next step for that inflammation is to her tongue and her throat. And obviously the impeding of breathing becomes a very real, scary scenario that nobody ever wants to cross with a child, friend, family, whoever. Thankfully, we never made it into that realm. And so my wife and I will be on utmost due diligence now, knowing that it would seem that the reality of increased severity is very real. And we saw that firsthand last night.
Yeah. Good luck with that, and keep us posted, would you?
Will do, mate. And yeah, like you say, hopefully, if we do encounter it again and she's been using the ivermectin for a period of time, we might see a decrease in the severity, and that would ring true to your thoughts, and it's beneficial and helps those with allergies.
Yeah. Well, it's helped numerous. Like, seriously, like, I can honestly say over 100 positively right now that have no more nut allergies or food allergies. So, like I said, everybody's different. So hopefully your daughter is one of those that will, you'll keep her on it and she will get over those. So she won't have to live with those in life.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for having me on again, mate. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And to all you other folk that are listening, yeah, this man's advice, because he's doing a good service for many people, sharing a wealth of knowledge that has been somewhat suppressed for far too long.
Thanks. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.